That's right. So, first and foremost, forearms are parallel. We want to have them parallel. You can play with them being in. A lot of people default to a triangular position. When we do that, the base of the shoulder blades flare open. They're unstable, and they're prone to pinching muscles, trapping things. And if I start lifting, you could very much have, my left shoulder blade could be well too high, and my right could be in, and create all sorts of issues. But by being parallel, by screwing out, it's the exact same action you see in almost every throw, every block. I always refer to Sen-Shin, that style of kata motion. It's that kind of stability we're looking for. So I screw the hands out, and I flay the fingers open to activate my forearms and to have good adhesion. They're like suction cups. A lot of people, they grip with the fingertips, and they sort of contract inward, and you lose structure. And then when you go to lift, when you get into like fingertip push-ups, you'd be amazed how many people are pulling in when they try to lift. And it's causing the structure to collapse, so they can't get the lift. So I push like that, yeah? Plus, later when you're shooting electricity, doubles your distance. That's it. So I want to be right there, sparkles. And everybody seen Thor yet? Yeah. All right, guys. So now in this position, I don't want you to add to the tailbone. So when I say release the tailbone, we relax it. We don't arch up. If we arch up, we can hurt the back. I want you to feel the difference between curling the tailbone under, you feel the pubis on the ground, versus just releasing it. And so when I'm in that position, when I embrace that, when I engage that tailbone, it should feel much more solid. When I release it, it might be comfortable, it might be relaxed, but later if I add stress, it's in danger. And if I engage that tailbone, I put my toes down and I rock up onto one hip fully. I can lift my elbow or keep it down. If I want to bring the elbow down, instead of just dropping it, I really exaggerate rotating it in. Roll to the opposite side. I engage the tailbone. A little extra spark in the engagement to lift the hip. And it's my choice. I can push off the palm heel to lift, but I don't want to just drop down. I always want to screw it in like a happy face. So I control that. It's a variation of an arm screw that doesn't yet get to transmute into a hand rotation. So the arm screw just from the shoulder. And that's it. So we play with that. Lifting. If you have the back flexibility, you can stay low with the forearm. If you want to isolate a little higher up, you can push away, keep a bit of flexion in the elbow. Once you start to get to that level of torque, you don't want to play with releasing the tailbone because it's quite dangerous. Now we go back to center. We're going to, again, engage that tailbone, push away from the hands. So your fingertips are not really involved. And now we're going to play with the elbows like hammocks. Open and close. You can modulate the height. I can go low. It's very easy to stay in that position just with the back, but I can also try to just keep the tailbone engaged and really isolate the arms. So I'm really getting a nice load on the arms, and I'm not assisting with the back very much. When you do this, if the person beside you is using their back, they're doing it effortlessly because the back is much stronger, but you're getting a fantastic isolation on your arms. And if we start to go single-sided, what I don't want to do is this, because then I become very unstable. I want to really isolate that joint. I contract, let's say, my right hand fully, and as I lift, I feel the compensation in my back. So I try to be as stable as I can. If that becomes comfortable, you can do the same side over and over. It's up to you. You can play with different hand positions. If I cat crawl it back and I play here, it's very different from being here. If I extend and then bring that elbow down and in and then up, it's very different. If I go on my fingertips and I work my wrist here, extending and then bring down, very different. So it's your world. I can go off to an angle. And then what I'd like to do is, from any position that I'm in, I place my other hand in a new position. Especially when you get close, be careful about the elbow being far. Be right into the body. I can crisscross. And as we know, crisscross. Yeah. Back to a default position, just on the forearms. Relax those shoulders now. We're just going to feel the fullness of the shoulders. So when I rotate, I don't just want to feel the head of the humerus or the deltoid moving. I want the wholeness of my shoulder blade. The bottom of the shoulder blade rubbing up and down on the ribs. All the sliding tissue moving. I can do any direction. Big or small. Just because you have the range of motion doesn't always make it necessary to do the fullness of it. Sometimes smaller feels better, figure eights feel better. Now guys, are going to engage that trunk, slide the hands out. We're going to keep the fingers flayed, look to one side, think with your hips first, roll the hips, and then shoot over that scorpion kick. So the key on the scorpion kick is the foot that is over. We want to get as fully on the blade of the foot as you can. So I can walk from toe to heel, heel to toe, to find the most manageable position. And then from that position, open up the knee. Push the knee away from the body. You should feel it in the leg, in the hip. You may feel it in the butt. You may feel it in the back. Might in the stomach, might in the shoulders. Softly roll now on the hip. Think always with the hip, from hip to stomach to opposite side of hip. Lead with the hip and throw that leg. And again, it's not a competition. You're not trying to go as far as possible. You're trying to just feel your body as deeply and as fully and as new a perspective as possible. Every day you'll gain strength and awareness and flexibility. But the more completely we can create that image of our body, the more fully we map it, and the more potential we have. And that's really what it's about. Feeling what's there, knowing what you can do today, learning something new about how you're put together, how it functions, where you're tense, where you're strong. Until you can feel it, you're not able to control and move it. So every stretch is an opportunity to explore the body, map out new territory. You push into the sole of that foot like you want to lift a few kilograms of pressure off your hip. Just a few. Don't try to lift up fully. You'd be surprised. I'm going to blow something out. You want to just put some load on that scorpion foot for a huge difference. Good, now we release. So now we're going to try to do one more, but very loosely. So what I want to do is I want to think hip. Hip is going to lead the femur. And as I get to the apex, I just flick my foot over like a grappling hook, and I just throw it over. And then it doesn't have to be fully, as long as it's anchored on the floor, it doesn't have to be tightly pressed or fully stamping the full sole of the foot. You'll see you'll have arrived in something a little bit different, a little bit new, not exactly the same position where you were strongest. It's a little bit outside and beyond that fully strong and stable position. Your flexibility brought you there, not your strength. And we can put the smallest pulse contraction, 10% contraction, a little bit of awareness, the smallest, slightest opening of the knee. It's all new territory, so the body's not as strong there, so you want to be very respectful. As always, come back to the spine, make sure that tailbone is engaged, the ribs are into the spine, shoulder blades a little bit together, sternum a little inflated. We're going to very softly melt out of that position. And we switch sides, throw it. Switch one more time. So now when we switch, we throw it over. The scorpion foot, we're going to lift up our heel onto the ball of the foot. And what we're going to do is we're gonna start to think of rotating around the ball of that foot. So we're gonna hold it, and we're just gonna explore it any direction. If ever it starts to loosen up the hip and you're not satisfied with the work you're getting, put your heel down, toe walk into a different position, lift your heel up again. You can continue doing that to get to a further and further position until you really feel it. This is really good for the connective tissue. You want to make sure that your knee is not swaying too far inward or outward. You're trying to use the hip to allow the femur to rotate. So I think of my femur rotating, stirring in my hip, and I can flex slightly less or more in my knee joint, but I'm not trying to rotate from my knee. I'm trying to keep my knee over my heel. So no matter where my heel goes, my knee should follow with minimum lag time between. Think of your knee always being balanced over your heel. That will reduce stress on your meniscus and your medial ligaments in your knee. Now we're going to switch sides, opposite side. Hip leading the motion, throw it over, and from that position we begin exploring the rotations around the ball of the foot. Anytime you have an angle or a corner that's a little stiff, that's tension, that's an area that's not mapped. Slow it down and micro-isolate it. Oftentimes we say, the rotation in the heel is not smooth. There's something in the heel I need to loosen. But chances are it's in the knee or more likely in the hip or the back. Change the position slightly, heel toe, walk it out. And find a place where you can get a deeper appreciation. And then we will come back up in a Cobra. Going to bring our head stable, in line with the spine. Slide our knees in, stretch back into child pose. Beautiful. We're going to have 3 positions for the next one. I'm going to show you what they are as solo. So first one, we're going to have at least elbows close to the knees, if I can. Elbows touching the knees, if I can. Elbows inside the knees. And you may change hand positioning. You might want to cradle or be on the back. If my palms are down, there's more stretch on the shoulders as I go down. If they're inward, there's a little less. It's a little bit more relaxed. So I see whatever it is I can do here. That's position 1. Position 2 will be a table. When we do our table, we want to make sure the heels of the palms are under the shoulders and the elbows are bent. And I can play with a so-called cow stretch where I curl up my hips and I cat stretch where I pull in. But just like any tailbone action, when I curl the tailbone under, there's no danger. I can go really strongly, pull the abs up, 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 up. But when I go into the cow stretch, it's more of a release with a slight assistance to make the hips turn over. I don't want to over-force the arching downward. That can hurt you just here without somebody on your back. Guess where we're going? And then finally, after all of that, I started in, I went there. I'm going to go forward, and I'm going to be applying in a Cobra stretch like that. Again, tailbone's always engaged. Head is neutral. I can play with variations in the head position, but ultimately I bring the chin down and extend the neck. Simple enough? So this is what we're going to do.